Good morning. My name is Mary and I'm from the Food Distribution Program. Today we are making ground bison spaghetti sauce. Today we are going to be using 1 pound of ground bison, which is available through our Food Distribution Program. Ground bison is very much like ground beef. It's very healthy. It is grown in the United States. It has somewhat of a flavor of its own, but I think if you try it, you'll understand that it's very good and it's very healthy for you. We're going to use 1 pound of ground beef, which we have here available at our Food Distribution Program. It calls for whole tomatoes. In our Food Distribution Program package, we have the diced tomatoes that has no salt added, so I just substituted it for the whole tomatoes. We're going to be using 2 cans of tomato paste. We're going to be using the traditional spaghetti sauce, which is available here at the Food Distribution Program. We're going to use 1 chopped onion, which is also available at the Food Distribution Program. We're going to use garlic cloves. We're going to use white sugar. Also, we're going to use some basil in our recipe today, and salt and pepper to taste. And then in our food package, we have the whole wheat rotini. So we're going to use half of the whole wheat rotini today, and then we're going to also use half of the white. It's your preference if you'd like to use all the white or all of the brown, or mix it like we did today. It's been found that the whole wheat rotini is much healthier for us. So I think if you try it, you might like it. So, all right, we're gonna get started with starting our recipe. I would like to welcome Joel. Joel is one of our students today that is going to be helping us make this recipe. As you can see here, Joel is cutting up the 1 medium onion for us for our recipe today. Okay, one of the easy ways that I have found to clean a garlic clove is you take the garlic clove and you just hit it with the end of a wooden spoon. And then all you have to do is it'll peel right apart. So there we have 1 clove. Okay, and then we need 3 more cloves for our recipe. Okay, as you can see, Rose is dicing up 4 garlic cloves for our recipe today. Now we're going to put our ground bison and our ground beef into our fry pan here. Okay, I'm going to turn it on probably a little above medium. And I'm going to start breaking up the meat. And then we're going to be adding our chopped garlic and our chopped onion when this starts to get hot. Our ground meat is browning here, so we're just gonna stir it up and break it up as it cooks. All right, then we have the onion all chopped up and the garlic. So we're just gonna add this to our ground meat and we're gonna let that get brown. Stir it right in there with our ground bison and our ground beef. Okay, and while this is frying, because that'll take a few minutes, I'm going to put in the canned vegetables into our kettle for our sauce. 2 cans of diced tomatoes. Then we're going to add the 2 cans of the traditional spaghetti sauce into the kettle. Scrape it all out, get it all out. Now we're going to add our 2 cans of tomato paste, which is thicker. Scrape that all around that can. Our second can. Okay, the water that we are going to use in this recipe, it's 2 cans of water. So I saved the cans because there was a little tomato paste in them yet. So I'm just going to stir it up a little bit, add that water, add our 2nd can of water. Cleans that out pretty good so there's no waste. Alrighty, then I'm going to stir it a little bit and I'm going to turn it on just about medium temperature because you don't want it to get too hot too fast or it may scorch on the bottom. So we'll let that get warmed up first. There's not much grease in this at all, which is very healthy for us. The ground bison doesn't have a lot of fat in it, nor does our ground beef here at Food Distribution. And what we'll do when it's finished browning is we're going to drain off that little bit of fat when we put it in our sauce. Okay, now we're going to put our seasonings into our sauce that's warming up here on the stove. First of all, it calls for salt to taste. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put a little hint of salt in it. And as you can see, there's not much salt in my hand. Pepper to taste. So I'm just going to put a little bit in my hand. And if you would like a little more in there, that's fine, you can put a little more in there. Calls for 3 tablespoons of the basil. So we'll put 3 tablespoons in there. Basil will give it a nice, kind of an Italian taste. Alright, we're going to stir this first before we put in our sugar. And what the sugar does is the sugar just kind of cuts the tomato taste. So we are going to add 2 tablespoons of white sugar to our recipe. Okay, now we'll stir this up. Let it get nice and mixed and heated up. We have this pot of water here that's come to a rolling boil. And what we're going to do is we're going to be adding our white rotini and our whole wheat rotini. And I always put a little bit of salt in here, little taste, and the noodles won't stick together. Alright, so it calls for 1 pound of white rotini. We'll pour that in slowly. And we're going to pour in our 1 pound of whole wheat rotini. Pour that in there slowly. Alright, now we're going to stir this up. We're going to turn it up a little bit, not quite to high, so that these noodles get nice and soft for our spaghetti sauce. Kind of pretty color, the brown and the white. It looks like our ground beef is pretty much cooked all the way through. There's no pink in any of the meat. So we're going to just add it to our sauce, leaving the fat in the bottom of the fry pan. It's beginning to smell really good. I think most of us like spaghetti and meat sauce. Alright, and as you can see, I'm scooping out the ground meat, leaving the fat in the bottom of the pan. Getting out all the onions and the garlic that we've added to this. There. Alright, now we can give this a nice stir. Turn it up. Maybe to probably about 8. So it'll warm through nice. There. We're going to let this simmer for about an hour. So once it gets good and hot, we'll turn it down a little bit. Okay, our noodles are all done cooking, and the way that I try to make sure that they're done is I just take one noodle out And if it cuts easily with a spoon, it's done. Okay. All right, now we're going to strain our noodles into this colander. We're just going to shake them a little bit, and we're going to let them just sit for a couple of minutes to drain. And we are not going to rinse them with any water. We're just going to let them sit in the sink for about 3 minutes. Now our spaghetti sauce is done simmering, so we're going to pour it over our noodles. Now our noodles are done draining in our colander, so we're just going to pour it into our bowl. And then we're just going to scoop on the spaghetti sauce all around it. All right, then we're going to mix it up in the noodles. All right, let's put a little bit more on the top. And it's ready to eat. And here's our finished product, our spaghetti with tomato sauce and ground bison and ground beef.